Hi everyone. I'm kind of too lazy to set up my camera somewhere, pile it on some books and shit, so I'm just kind of balancing it. So I'm sorry if this is a little bit wobbly. There's this topic I kind of want to talk about, and it's been on my mind a lot. Every time I make a video, I try to think how I'm going to title it and how I want to stick to the title, you know. Make sure that whatever is on the title is completely relatable, because I tend to sidetrack and go in different tangents a lot. So this is just me, you know, kind of trying. I basically want to talk about feeling like an outcast in the family, or I guess feeling like the ugly duckling. This topic really hurts me, you know, like I can talk a lot about a lot of things. I can casually talk about my self-harm, but talking about my family is a very, you know, touchy topic for me, or at least, you know, I guess it's such a personal issue. I don't really like other people getting into my family life, because I love my family, and I care so much about my family, and I have great parents. This is a disclaimer, but I can't help but feel the way I feel, and my rule in life is no one should ever apologize for the way they feel, because that is the way they feel, and they can't help but feel that way. And I know I'm so ready to get a lot of, oh, this is such a, you know, third world problems and stuff, but like I said, I can't help but the way I feel. Alright, so first off, when I was in Australia, I was living with my mother. When I was around 7, 8, that's when we were kind of homeless, and I was also with my brother Wednesday. I wasn't in school and everything, and my mother was having addiction issues and shit, so it was a really rough time for me. My dad was in Thailand with my stepmom. I just refer to her as my mom. When I talk about my real mom, I refer to her as my mother or my real mom. He was with my stepmom, and I would call him, or he would call us, and I'd be crying and being like, hey, I'm so hungry and I'm not in school and stuff, and I'd just be crying and shit. And he knew the conditions we were in. He talked to my mother and stuff, and he knew the conditions we were in, and I can't help but resent him for not, like, just coming to Australia and picking me up and picking me and my brother up. And I resent him so much for that, because he was like my hero, and when I was in such a rough place like that, completely blamed him, I guess. When I should have blamed my mother, but I couldn't. But he was like the protector, and he didn't protect me, and it just ruined my view of him, and it will always be like that, you know. I respect him a lot as a person. I think he's a great person. He might have had his reasons, but he doesn't really enclose a lot of those details. But anyways, so then finally we got a flight to Thailand, and I moved with my father and my mom, and I just refer to them as my parents. Well, we were there, and it was good when we first went there, and then we found out that my stepmom was pregnant, and I love my little brother. He's awesome. I 100% respect my mom, because she was so young, and she took 2 children in when she didn't even really know us. And I mean, yeah, we went on holiday with her before, but she didn't know even how to feed us or how to dress us or what we liked and stuff, so she was completely foreign to that. She was never a mother, so it was a huge step that she took, and I will always respect her for that. But anyways, yeah, we'd go on holidays together, and I know this is one of the third world problems kind of come up, but yeah, we took a lot of holidays together, and I remember when we moved to Malaysia after that, I was around 9, no, I was like 10, yeah, I was 10, and my oldest sister came, and then they went, and then my oldest sister, my mom, and my younger brother, you know, they went on holiday to Bali without me and my older brother. So me and my older brother were okay with that, but it kind of like led to us feeling like we were kind of like a burden, because we were born, like, our mother, my dad hates my mother, and so you automatically feel like a burden, you know, because you're part of her. And then we moved to Taiwan. You know, I was around 12 when we moved to Taiwan. One summer, they were like, oh, we're not going to go anywhere this summer, but do you two want to go anywhere, because we don't have any money, so you two can just go somewhere. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. My parents are so sweet. And I was like, yeah, I would like to go to Malaysia so I could go visit my old friends. And my brother said the same thing. I want to go to Malaysia. So they bought us the tickets to Malaysia. I was so happy. Then they call me, and they're like, hey, we're in Finland. And I was automatically really confused. I was like, oh, I thought you guys didn't have money. Obviously, I didn't ask them that, but I was like, what? So I felt like they distracted us, like dangled some yarn in front of us and then like threw it and then just went on their own separate way. And so they took my little brother with them, you know, the love child, the spoiled child, the one that I'm kind of jealous of, and they went to Finland and then they went to Sweden. And it was just kind of like, wow, thanks for inviting me and Wednesday. So it kind of was like a shot in the arm, but I didn't really care. I had a good time in Malaysia, but it still stayed in the back of my mind. This is kind of like a long kind of storyline that I have to kind of think of. I didn't really mention that I kind of have this envy for my mother, because my dad would, like, he's head over heels for her. And I'm not envious that, you know, in that way, but I mean, like, when I was in Australia, I felt like he chose my stepmother over, you know, me and my brother. So that, like, kind of hurt. It was just kind of like, thanks, like, you have children, dude. Anyways, they went on, I mean, I've been on holidays with them a lot, and I love when they take me on holidays, but what I don't like is when they just don't tell me, you know. A couple months ago, I come home from work, and my stepmom and my little brother, you know, the love child, you know, they have luggage at the door, and I'm like, what's going on? Where are you guys going? They're like, oh, we're going to Bali, and I'm like, why are you, like, only telling me this, like, an hour before you go to the airport? And then, like, my stepmom just looks at me, and she knows what I'm thinking, and she's just like, oh, my grandmother died. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't even tell me, like, you didn't even, like, wow, I live in the same house. I don't even feel like I live in the same house as them, you know? Sorry, I'm so sensitive. Like, this really bothers me. I literally feel like an outcast. And then what really, really hurt me was, and this is, like, I'm gonna actually burst out crying. I'm sorry, guys, but what really, really hurt me, because I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to me where even for the smallest reasons, you can feel like a total ugly duckling in your family, you know? Before my suicide attempt, when I got kicked out of my house and I was staying in other people's houses, we had plans to go to Guam, and the only time, like, me and my dad, we did not talk when I was kicked out of my house at all. He would text me, like, once in a while and stuff, but he texted me one time and he's like, we're buying the tickets to Guam now, are you still coming with us? And I was positive that our relationship would get better, so I said yes. Yes, I want to go with you to Guam. And I was happy that I said yes, because I knew I would have regretted it. And then my suicide attempt happened, and I was jogging with my dad a lot after my suicide attempt, just getting my health back and just getting some positivity in my life. And I'm, like, jogging with him, and while we're jogging, he's talking and stuff, and he's like, I think I mentioned Guam or something, and he's like, oh, yeah, I have to mention that you're not coming to Guam with us. Like, he said it like that, and I, like, opened my mouth, and I just stopped jogging, and I turned to the side, and I bursted out crying, because I was like, you're going to leave your suicidal teen alone on Christmas in a house full of knives and razors and in a country full of drugs. Are you stupid? And it hurt me so much. It hurt me so much because I just felt like I was so unwanted. I was such a burden, even after I was screaming for help, being like, hey, fucking pay attention to me. I am alive. I'm okay. Please just love me, you know? And they were like, oh, you can't come to Guam with us. And while I'm jogging with him, like, I didn't even want to jog the rest, so I just turned back. I started walking back, and he started walking back with me. And he kept saying to me, he's like, I'm so sorry. And it wasn't even I'm sorry that you're so hurt right now. It was, I'm sorry that I'm not reliable to, you know, get you a ticket. And that really, really hurts. It really hurts. Yes, I am so ready for all the third world problems, whatever that shit, crying out for attention, but I can't help the way I feel. And, sorry, so gross when I cry. I'm so gross when I cry. Okay, anyways, that really kind of stung, but a couple days later, he came up to me smiling, and he's like, we managed to get you, it's 3 o'clock, he's like, hey, we managed to get you the ticket. And I was like so happy. I was like jumping around, and I had such a great, holiday with them. It was probably my last holiday with them. Every holiday I go to, I feel loved, but I always feel like I'm kind of like a burden, and I forgot to mention that before that, when my brother was here, my older brother, they were planning to go to Finland, and they asked, do you both want to come? And my brother said no, and I said, are we just going to Finland? And they said yes. And I was like, okay, no, because I don't want to just go to Finland. I've been to Finland so many times, but if it was any other country, I would love to go. And then so they're like, okay, so they paid for the flights and everything, and then I realized that was probably going to be the last holiday I have with them, so I went up to my dad one night crying, being like, I really, really do want to go, like, I changed my mind, like, I realized that this might be the last time I'm going to spend time with you. And he just said to me, he's just like, oh, that's such a pity because I already paid for the flights, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, and we're also going to Germany. And I was like, I didn't ask him, but in my head, I was like, I asked you if we're going to go anywhere else, because that would have changed my decision with going. So I felt like a fucking burden when he managed to pay for my flight and pay for a flight to Germany. I felt like a fucking burden because I felt like I wasn't even supposed to be on that trip, and that I wasn't even supposed to be in Germany with him, and I was also, like, every time when I go with them to Finland and it's like a definite yes, we don't go anywhere else, we just go to Finland, but whenever it's alone and they plan it just with their happy little family where it's just my dad and his loving wife and my younger brother, who I do love, but he's very fucking spoiled, then they go all these different places, and it hurts just like feeling unwanted. And even like, and then this summer, they were like, we're gonna go to Finland, and I was like, okay, this is my last month in Taiwan, so I'm probably gonna stay here. You guys are just going to Finland, right? And they're like, yeah, because, my oldest brother got married. And then they like text me 2 weeks ago, and they're like, hey, we're having such a great time, we're in Norway. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm like, thanks, that's cool. Happy for you guys. I am happy for them, but it's just kind of like, I constantly feel like I'm not welcome. Like, my family's ashamed of me because I'm me, And that's probably the worst feeling to ever have. Just feeling like, feeling like you're a part of something is probably the best feeling to ever have, even when it's like, I remember when I joined the school musical, like the play, and at the end of the play, it was such a lovely feeling because we were like a family, and it was great. And when you actually are in a family and you go home to them every day and you just don't feel like you're part of a family, it really hurts. Yeah, despite my granted, my parents are amazing. They're great people. They care a lot. Maybe they just put too much attention on other little things like their reputation is, and that's probably why they hate me, because I've ruined their reputation for publicizing my suicide attempt. Note that I actually thought I was going to die, so I didn't really care. It hurts a lot because I don't feel like an outcast or ugly duckling. I feel like a fucking alien. I feel like an alien to them, and I'm sure a lot of people out there feel the same way, because it only took me a while. Like, it took me a really long time to realize that this is the way I feel, because I just kept sweeping it under the rug and just hiding it behind the curtains and just being like, oh, it's okay. They probably just forgot to mention it, that, they're going to another country, and all that stuff. I just kind of like let it not hurt me, but deep inside, of course, it fucking hurt me, and I'm pretty sure it hurt my brother the same way, probably, like my older brother. So I like to watch my little 3-person perfect family, which I'm not in. I literally feel like I'm in a house, where I'm just renting out a room. It's a pretty shitty feeling. Feeling disconnected to other people is where our mental issues are from. When we feel disconnected to other people, we act out in a different way because we want to feel connected. And when people see that we're disconnected and they act differently towards us, that bothers us, because all we want to do is feel mutual with people. And that's where a lot of, mental problems are from. And I could talk about this forever, but this is on a 20-minute video. 20 minutes of me crying. Wow. But it's like therapy. Like I said, every time I make a video, it's like therapy. So I'm sorry if I was looking at the viewfinder a lot. It's just because like I'm holding my camera in such a weird angle. So I just kind of want to make sure that like, I'm not really wearing a lot of clothes. I don't want to like flash anyone or anything. So thank you guys. No Tumblr quote of the day because I'm just too sappy for it. Okay, bye.